Nothing's off the table. We have to look at how can we best serve victims and hold to our mission.
But first, some of the people who fight for crime victims across Ohio now facing their own struggles. Good evening, I'm Frank Wiley.
And I'm Courtney Guzman. Rape crisis shelters and battered women's shelters are among the agencies staring at huge holes in their budgets after federal funding cuts.
News 5's Bob Jones found out the agencies who were already struggling during the pandemic are worried about what's next.
Really, it's gut-wrenching.
Sandy Parker from the Rape Crisis Center of Medina and Summit counties reacting to the news about losing 40% of Victims of Crime Act or VOCA funding. The loss is critical because VOCA funds make up 90% of the center's budget.
It's very unfortunate that we're in this position.
The center provides hospital advocacy for sexual assault victims.
Thank you for calling Hope and Healing.
A 24-hour hotline and trauma therapy. But with the deep cuts, there is serious concern that some employees may lose their jobs, making it hard to meet all of the needs of survivors.
How can we manage through these budget cuts without cutting services to victims?
Nathan Chambers says VOCA funding to the battered women's shelter of Summit and Medina counties was also slashed. It served about 10,000 people last year.
It's a community need. Domestic violence, interpersonal violence occurs regardless of income or race or sexual orientation.
Chambers says VOCA money comes from fees and fines collected from white-collar crimes, but with a decrease in federal prosecutions, there is less funding for victims' agencies. The shelter may now be forced to lay off some of its 76 employees in the midst of a pandemic and when fundraising is hard.
We're obviously going to do whatever it takes to keep our doors open and keep the programs flowing. However, fewer dollars just means a crunch.
Victims of Crime Act funding is the largest source of income for both agencies. For the battered women's shelter, the cuts dropped funding from $1.3 million to $770,000. For the Rape Crisis Center, it drops from $930,000 to $558,000. Victims agencies across Ohio are now scrambling for solutions.
We'll continue to try to find other funding sources to bridge the gap.
In the meantime, their message to those they help remains the same.
I just encourage survivors to reach out to us if you need us. We will be there to help you.
In Akron, Bob Jones, News 5.